This administration, like the Obama administration, is devoid of people that actually operate in the real world, in the business world. They come out of the charitable world or out of government, and so they really don't have a functioning understanding of how the real world works.
Will your life be better or worse in 4 years? Will America be stronger or worse or weaker in 4 years? What do you think? I think about that a lot. I think about what our country is going through now and where we're going to end up if we don't make the right choices, if we don't put the right people in office, if we don't pay attention to what is happening to our country. More importantly, if we don't pay attention what is happening to our families, to our communities, to our states, and to our country as a whole. That is what we have to be asking ourselves as we come towards this November 2024 election. And as we are looking at candidates across this country, our presidential candidates, and we can see right now where the Biden administration has taken our nation, right? Look at the people that are supporting Biden. Look at the lawmakers that are signing off on all of Biden's plans. Look at the lawmakers that have allowed our border to remain wide open, despite the fact that more and more every day, Americans do not want this lawlessness and chaos at the border. Look at the fact that our milk has gone up. Look at the fact that we've 19% increase in inflation and we're faced with all kinds of issues and that our nation is struggling to find itself. Look at the fact that we have a presidential candidate that is being dragged in and out of the courts because of lawfare, because of election interference. Because of election interference, folks. It's nothing else but that. And I want you to take a step back. And I want you to really assess what is happening in your own town, city, state, county, and ask yourself, are you better off than you were? And if you're not, and if our nation is not, what are you going to do about it? Who are you going to vote for? What are you going to do? How do we have a nation that is committed to national security, one that believes that we have sovereignty, and one that believes in following the rule of law so criminals aren't running around like we're in Gotham City, right? Some kind of crazy Batman movie where criminals are doing whatever they want. And the real victims, the people that are part of those communities that are suffering because of that, are hiding out in their homes because district attorneys aren't even doing their jobs. The DAs are all bought and owned. Well, we need to have people in the Senate, in Congress that are going to fight for us. That is what we need. We need those people. And it all comes down to 2024. If Trump retakes the White House and has big majorities in the Senate and the House, then we can absolutely radically improve the direction of our country. And I mean, we need to do that ASAP. We can't wait. There is no tomorrow. It has to be today. We have a huge, huge opportunity to take back the Senate and White House, and it is all hands on deck to put America first. I have one of the key players in this fight on the show today, Eric Hovde from the great state of Wisconsin, who is fighting to flip a pivotal seat from blue to red, and actually from a community organizer and never had a job outside of government. This woman, wait till you hear about it. You do not want to miss this show, folks. But first, MyPillow. You know I love Mike Lindell. I love the fact that he launched MyPillow as an American company. It's a solution for so many problems now, not just one. It isn't about just pillows anymore, folks. Even though the pillows are fantastic, he's got so much more. He's got slippers, he's got sheets, he's got dog beds, he's got everything you need one-stop shop at mypillow.com. And right now they are hosting a $25 extravaganza. Here's the current offer. You're not going to believe this. Use promo code CARTER, that's Carter, at mypillow.com to get sale price and free shipping on any order over $75. Remember, 2-pack My Pillows sandals, luxurious 6-pack towel sets. Getting those for my daughter. She's moving into a beautiful house. Other savings with promo code Carter, CARTER. Giza Dream bed sheets right now, queen size, only $59.98. Go to mypillow.com or call 800-685-7221 today to get in on the $25 extravaganza today. Be sure to use code Carter, CARTER, to get the sale price and free shipping on your order over $75. Call 800-685-7221 or go to mypillow.com. Promo code Carter. Again, mypillow.com, promo code Carter. I'm so happy to have Eric Hovde on the show today. You're an entrepreneur and a philanthropist, but most importantly, you are running to represent Wisconsin in the U.S. Senate. Thank you so much for being on the Sarah Carter Show.
It's great being on your show, Sarah.
You know, if all of you out there that are listening to the show who maybe not know Eric Hovde or know his background, you will today. But you can go actually to erichovde.com, and there are 4 big issues that you talk about there. It's the cost of living, national security, immigration, and healthcare. And I want to talk about the cost of living first, because we are seeing inflation skyrocket. I was just listening to my colleague, Maria Bartiromo, on Fox Business this morning, and she's talking about skyrocketing inflation, how insurance on homes is now much higher than we've ever seen in the past, even in states like Florida, with a great governor, Ron DeSantis, and across the board, we're seeing prices go up. And the American people are feeling this. This is a big part of this election. I know immigration's a huge part, but the economy is a big part. As a businessman, what can you do for the state of Wisconsin that Tammy Baldwin cannot? What can you do to help bring our economy forward?
Well, first of all, you're exactly correct. People are struggling out there, and I hear it all the time. I mean, you go through the grocery store, I don't care if it's the price of eggs, butter, milk, you name it. Insurance costs, auto insurance, home insurance. You just run through the litany of things and how much the cost of every good and service has gone straight up over the last 3.5 years because of the reckless spending by Joe Biden and Senator Baldwin, who has supported him at every step of the way. I mean, she literally votes with President Biden 95.5% of the time. That should tell you something about her. The problem with Senator Baldwin and Joe Biden and so many of these politicians, they don't understand the economy. They have no concept of how our globalized, financialized economy works. So they do things that they think are positive, or maybe they don't have good intentions, but have very negative consequences. So they spent $4.7 trillion after we came out of the lockdowns of COVID. The economy was already roaring back, and they spent all this money recklessly. We've added more debt in the last 3.5 years than in our country's first 230-year history. Now, why is that important? Because the Federal Reserve, which is our federal government's central bank, they had to buy that debt, increase the money supply. So what is inflation? Inflation is more money chasing the same amount of goods and services. So it's had a very negative impact for all Americans, particularly our seniors that live on fixed incomes, or those that are, struggling at the lower end of the workforce in society, where they're not getting the gains in their wages to absorb all these cost impacts. And this is the problem. You need people that understand these issues, understand how an economy works, to be able to solve the problems. And the first thing you do is you stop all the reckless spending right there.
Yeah.
We have to deregulate our economy to get it more productive. So we need changes to really get our economy going and to pull down pricing.
I absolutely agree with you. You know, in the next Senate, we'll have a lot of work to do to clean up the mess caused by Biden economics and the Biden administration's incompetence all the way around. Here is Jared Bernstein, Biden's chair of the United States Council of Economic Advisors, failing to answer just a simple, basic question about taxation. Take a listen to this.
Like you said, they print the dollar. So why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Because they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah, so.
I think Jared Bernstein needs to go back to college. I have no idea what was going on there, but he has the same mental capacity that's happening to Biden sometimes. It's like, I don't know what's happening there. I don't know if they're poisoning the well. Is there something going on?
That is one of the most cringe-worthy videos, but it's serious because, listen, this is Joe Biden's chief economic advisor all the way back to his vice president's days. And I would always see him being interviewed on CNBC and other shows, and he never had very concrete or decisive answers. And he'd go off on areas that I'd shake my head in disbelief. But when you see that, and he can't even understand the borrowing function of the government and why, it's stunning. Jared, it's real simple. If the federal government just prints money, nobody will hold a dollar. It wouldn't be the world's reserve currency. The currency would collapse in price. Inflation would be running at much higher rates. And that is the theory that they all bought off on. It's this modern monetary theory that is senseless. It has no standing. And you know what? Even somebody like Larry Summers, who, is a heavyweight in the Democratic Party and was involved in the Clinton administration in many different capacities, said it's all voodoo economics. And yet this is what Biden and the modern day Democratic Party has become, is they follow down these paths. None of them have an economic understanding. And that was the prime example of it. Watch that interview a couple times. But, also watch Janet Yellen, our Treasury Secretary, when Senator Kennedy just asked her about how much we're borrowing and where our deficits were heading. And she couldn't answer even basic questions about that. And I sat there just completely stunned, as Senator Kennedy was, of going, how can you not know this? You're the Treasury Secretary. Well, so if you wonder why our country is doing so poorly economically, and we're spending $1.57 to produce $1 of GDP growth, watch these videos and it will tell you everything. And that's the problem. We need to bring about change in Washington desperately.
I absolutely cannot fathom how he can be in that position of power in the United States, and even Janet Yellen not being able to answer these basic questions. And I'm not saying I'm a financial expert or financial whiz at all. I'm not, but they should be. And right now we're seeing across the board our adversaries like China with China's yuan, moving in and becoming more prominent in Latin America, in Africa, Brazil, and these are our adversaries. And when they see people like this in the White House, they must be just licking their chops like, wow, this is incredible. The United States is really starting to fall apart. What do you think it would take to get us back to where we need to be. You know, based on your background, your banking background, your economic background, what do we need to do to kind of get ourselves out of this hole and take the lead again in the world, being the world's leading economic power as well as military? And I personally believe that we are a beacon of shining light. And I want to get back to that for the rest of the world when it comes to our principles, our basic principles of liberty and freedom. And I will go right into that after this.
Yeah, look, every generation of Americans has always wanted to leave the next generation better off. And sadly, what we're leaving our children and our grandchildren are an absolute mess. And it's going to catch up with us as well. So let's walk through some steps that we need to take to restore our economy. First of all, during the COVID lockdown, government spending spiked up by 40%. Now, you would have thought they would have used common sense, and once we came out of the lockdown, then government spending would have dropped by 40% back to pre-pandemic levels. But no, that's not what happened. They kept spending like we were in a total lockdown, which is insanity because our population didn't grow by 40%, but somehow government spending grew by 40%. So we first have to immediately drop back down government spending to where it was pre-pandemic level. Then, because we've racked up so much incredible amounts of debt, we have to figure out a glide path to continue to reduce that spending. Then we have to take pro-growth policies. Deregulation is a big one. If you talk to any business out there or any farmer, they will tell you they are choking on regulations. You know, I've been in the banking business and the real estate development business. The amount of regulations that we have to deal with all the time is stunning, and just the overall cost. So we have to do what Ronald Reagan did when he came in 1981 and started a big deregulation program. Look, you need certain regulations without question, but the amount we have today is absurd. Third,
and also, if you don't mind me just interrupting there, just because also I think you're right on the money there, and removing people from the EPA and other agencies that have been activists, like in the Sierra Club. And I mean, it's just a big rotating government agency that brings in these people that are ideological and that have these progressive radical ideas into the business sector. And they're not using science, but they're using their radical ideas. I'm just going to leave it at that. And I'll let you go ahead to the third point you're going to make.
I 100% agree with that. And this administration, like the Obama administration, is devoid of people that actually operate in the real world, in the business world. They come out of the charitable world or out of government. And so they really don't have a functioning understanding of how the real world works. The third piece that we have to do is, under Bill Clinton, with the urging of Newt Gingrich, was welfare reform. And we knew the benefits that created because you encourage more people to get in the workforce, not to sit out of the workforce. And think of what happened during COVID when Bernie Sanders and Senator Baldwin, right there, because she's as liberal as Bernie Sanders, forced through a bill to pay people more to not work than to work. I mean, it's insanity. And that has crept in. So there's so many different welfare programs that allow people to not have to go into the workforce. So we need to pull people back. I mean, only 61% of the population is in the workforce. That's the participation rate. You see that the government reports.
That's
so
incredible.
Those are the three big steps that we have to take. But there's a whole lot of other areas. I mean, healthcare is an extensive area. We have to bring. You
talked about Tammy Baldwin when it came to healthcare. You called her out. You said, the fact that she's never actually had to buy healthcare for herself or her employees because she has never run a business and has been a politician her entire career is one of those reasons. I mean, what do you think about that? And how do you plan on fixing that system?
Well, look, she's a supporter of socialized healthcare. And anybody that, buys off on socialized healthcare, go look what's happening in England or look what's happened in Canada. All that happens is you ration healthcare. And nobody in England or nobody in Canada is very happy with their healthcare system today. And that's why anybody that has money in those countries comes to America to go get, if they need their hip replaced or knee replaced or something, even more serious. So they keep pushing this. And what's happened to the cost of our healthcare? After Obamacare, costs have gone straight up. More importantly, the access to care has gone down. We need to bring competition into our medical system because Obamacare helped create oligarchies and monopolies. And think of price transparency. You go buy almost any other good out there in society. You go to the grocery store, you can see the price of everything. You go buy, a car, they'll give you the list price. You can negotiate it a bit. Some places now just give you a hard, firm price. But almost everywhere you go, you'll get a price. You go try to ask, well, how much is the surgery going to cost? Or how much is that MRI going to cost at a hospital? Good luck. They'll give you an 800 number. You'll dial it. Right. You'll go through a rigmarole forever just trying to get what the price of this is going to be. So it's impossible to shop, your medical services. So we need to bring back competition. But back to your point, Sarah, here Senator Baldwin literally came out of college, has been in politics. She's, had health insurance always bought for her in whatever government job. She doesn't even understand the basics of it, much less somebody like me who's not only had to buy my own health insurance, but buy thousands of different employees over my lifetime's health insurance and have had to navigate all the issues and the problems that Obamacare created. And I hope more Republicans start talking about this because healthcare costs and accessibility are becoming a very severe problem in our country.
Are you concerned about the endless flood of illegal immigration at the southern border? How about the $1 trillion being added to the national debt every 100 days? It's no wonder thousands of hardworking, patriotic Americans, including myself, are learning how to protect and diversify their retirement savings with precious metals. That's why I've partnered with the top-rated company, Goldco. Listen to their current offer. Get a free 2024 wealth protection kit and learn how to possibly get $10,000 in bonus silver as a listener of this show while supplies last. Remember, I tell you all the time, diversify, 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 especially in this day and age when everything is so upside down and inflation is going crazy. We've got to protect our families and protect our future. Protect your family's financial future and freedom. Get started today at Sara, S-A-R-A, likesgold.com. That's SaraLikesGold.com or call 855-823-GOLD. Get your free gold kit from Goldco and learn how to get $10,000 in bonus silver. Sara, S-A-R-A, likesgold.com, 855-823-4653. That's Sara, S-A-R-A, likesgold.com or call 855-823-GOLD. One of the big issues right now for people in Wisconsin and frankly all across America is immigration. And we have spent hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars on migrants that are coming across this border, housing them, feeding them, putting them in jail, removing them, losing them, and all the horrors of the humanitarian crisis that goes along with that. But it's hundreds of millions, if not in the billions, I would say, once you look at money that's going to Central America, to NGOs, and all the money we're spending here, by a system that has allowed them to come in. I mean, I thought about this the other day, Eric. We have literally, our government has a wide open border. Basically, the entire Biden administration has kept that border wide open. They're charging people for trafficking people in the United States, yet it's the government themselves that are trafficking in humans because they're not enforcing the law. How does this play out in Wisconsin, and how do you handle this in your home state?
Look, every state in our country's become a border state. We have a small town here called Whitewater in Wisconsin. Back in November, I think it was, the town's about, call it 13,000 people. They just dropped 1,000 illegal immigrants into the town. the town's budget went upside down immediately. You already have in America problems housing our population, the cost of housing. That's only gotten vastly worse. Healthcare, talk about an issue. We're just talking about healthcare. We brought in 10 to 16 million. There's different estimates, but definitely more than 10 million people into our country that are using our healthcare system, and they're not paying anything into it. And, that's one thing the Democrats don't understand. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So who's going to absorb the cost of them using our medical system? It's you, because anybody that's paying into the system through health insurance or buying their medical service directly, you're going to be picking up the cost for somebody that's not paying into it. So you have that problem. Then you have the issue of the fentanyl crisis.
Right.
We are losing over 100,000 Americans every single year to fentanyl and opiates. That though they get manufactured in China, sent to Mexico, pour up over our border. It's the number one leading cause of death of Americans between 18 and 45. And, that's just another issue, very serious issue that is impacting America. I mean, I couldn't imagine losing a child to fentanyl. And it's such a dangerous drug. And then you look at the humanitarian crisis that they've created. They can't account for 100,000 children.
It's astonishing. It's astonishing to me. And your foundation has done so much great work. And I was going to go there. Please talk about your foundation, because I really think that's the part of your story that so many people don't know, is just how much you have given back to stop this horror in child trafficking.
Yeah, look, I have Christian beliefs to who much is, been given, much is expected, to where a man's heart goes, so goes his treasure. So I started a foundation back in the 90s that first started focusing on medical research and multiple sclerosis. Why? I have MS. I've had it for 32 years. Knock on wood. I've through health, exercise, eating, and medication. My MS has been pretty stable the last 15, 20 years. But shortly after that, in the early 00s, I started focusing on street children around the world and abandoned children and children sold into the sex trade and rescuing them. And I've been doing that also here in America. And I did a partnership with a group called Thorn and helped fund something called Spotlight. It's a technology tool that allows police force and the FBI to track on the internet when children are being trafficked. But we have 4 homes in Africa, 5 in Central and South America. We have a home here in Madison, Wisconsin, where I live. That's more for single mothers with children. But, our homes rescue children that have been abandoned to the street. And if they're on the street, they're not only dealing with homelessness, food scarcity, all of that, drug addiction problems because they sniff glue to suppress their hunger and their emotions, but most of them are sexually trafficked. So, we are trying to rescue these children. It's a horror what they have to experience. These are innocent children. And to think that the Biden administration has created a mass humanitarian crisis on our southern border, and they have lost account of 100,000 children is just stunning. I mean, they couldn't account for 4,000 under President Trump. The New York Times and Washington Post railed on them, but you hear nothing about those from those newspapers or the mainline media about the 100,000 children that they can't account for under Joe Biden. And it's sickening. It's truly sickening.
And so many more, Eric, that have disappeared on that journey through the horrors of the trafficking groups that are bringing them all across Central America. I'll be going to Guatemala soon and El Salvador, and it's just tragic. I mean, there's no other words to express that when you open the border and you allow for lawlessness, all of these narco organizations and human trafficking organizations are going to take advantage of that. And who pays the price? You said it very well. We do, with our children dying of fentanyl. And I've known so many families, unfortunately, that have lost their children to this horrible poison, and all the children that have lost their lives, you know, being trafficked to this nation. And the ones that we know about, the 100,000, God help them. Where are they? You know, but the ones that we don't know about, those are the ones that your foundation and others are rescuing. Thank you so much for all your generosity, for everything that you do. God bless you on your run for Senate. You know, we're looking to get that Senate back, please. I'm looking forward to watching you take it. And thank you so much for being a part of my show. You are always welcome on the Sara Carter Show.
Thank you so much, Sara. It's been wonderful being on your show, and I hope all your listeners have a very wonderful and blessed day.
Thank you so much, Eric. I hope to have you back on again, the Sara Carter Show, as Senator Eric Hovde. Please make sure you are subscribed to Sara Carter Show on your favorite podcast app. It helps us bring on all these fantastic guests, and it really gives us a boost in our algorithm. If you are watching on Rumble or YouTube, give us a like and a follow as well. Remember, this is where we take the story back. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless all these children in the world that are being trafficked by such horrible, horrible people. And I hope that Eric Hovde can save them. And God bless the great state of Texas.